Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios and check out our Facebook page where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, hey, what is up? Welcome to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 65 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we will bid you welcome. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we'll extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for supporting. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. Number 65, and as you can tell by the abundance of noise that's happening right now, this is a mobile podcast. That's right, people. I'm on the road today, and I've got a few things I want to talk about, and whenever the urge hits me to talk and to record, I tend to do that wherever I can. We're not just limited to the studio, although that's often the preferred way to record because of background noise and like I said, like you're hearing right now. So hopefully it's not too distracting. By the way, welcome. Glad you are with us. This is my show. I'm Tom. I am a pro wrestling writer / lifelong fan. Have been for X number of a ton of years. We're not going to get into how old I am because it's quite depressing, and I don't want to hang myself by the end of this episode. None of us want that to happen. Trust me. I'm too old to die. Okay, and I've got not many years left, so I got to really. It's terrible. What a bleak way to introduce the show. Terrible stuff. How are we today? This is number 65, as we said. We're not going to waste a whole lot more time here because I got some things on my mind. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? This time, the main event is Legend and Legacy. You like that? I kind of came up with that off the cuff. I like that. Maybe that'll be the title of my first book, Legend and Legacy. I like it. So let's talk about the legend part. Unless you've been living under a rock or you've been hanging out in parts unknown for a while and maybe you guys don't get cable over there or you don't have a signal, then maybe you're not aware that Goldberg made his return to the world of professional wrestling and shocked the world. He straight up outdid Muhammad Ali by shocking the world when he beat Brock Lesnar in an astounding 86 seconds. This is not news, of course. It's now got a little bit of age on it. Everyone's debated and got upset or been happy, and a combination of all the in between. That crowd in Toronto, Canada, man, was holy God. They were into it. We all predicted that the crowd in Canada was going to be anti-Goldberg. We could not have been more wrong. A lot of writers out there picked Brock to go over. I was not one of them. I was one of the guys that picked Goldberg from day one. I said, I think he has to win this match. I think that Brock has been booked to the moon for too long, much too long, and something had to happen to kind of switch things up because, I often compare Brock to Tyson in as much as Mike Tyson, by the way, not Tyson Kidd, just in case you were maybe wondering. Anyway, I often compare Brock to Mike Tyson in as much as when Mike Tyson was in his heyday and was untouchable and couldn't be knocked out and couldn't be knocked down and was indestructible, and his boxing matches, his fights were lasting 30 seconds, and you paid all this money for a pay-per-view and it was for nothing, and all this other stuff, and the undercard was underwhelming or whatever was going on that particular evening. And after a while, it was like, at first people loved it because he was such a monster. He was such a just so unbeatable and such. My God, he was an annihilator, wasn't he? If any of you remember Tyson back in his prime, it was amazing to watch. He could destroy everything and everyone in his path, and he did. He did a lot. So, but then as some time passed, people began to get a little frustrated. they began to look at him and say, you know what, I'm not feeling this anymore. I want this guy to lose. And there's something about us that we want to see our idols fall. And it's human nature, and I don't know why, but it's especially true of sports fans. And I equate pro wrestling fans along the same lines as regular sports fans. I always have, because we are passionate about the business. Just like you might be passionate about your football team. You say the word we all the time instead of they. We won the game. Well, you didn't win anything, pal. You sat on your couch and watched DirecTV. So I'm just saying. But we're the same ilk, pro wrestling fans are. A very passionate bunch of people. And that's how we roll. So, a lot of stuff going on right now, and again, the passionate wrestling fan, that's what's happening right now, folks, and it always has been, and that's what's driving WWE. It's what's driving professional wrestling. Without the fans, there is no professional wrestling. We can all agree on that one, but sorry to get off on a rant there. Sorry, my bad. This is what I often do. Why am I apologizing? It's my show. Roll with it, fool. I'm just saying. But yeah, back in the day when Tyson was on a roll and he could do no harm, and then people are like, look, I want to see this guy get knocked down. I want to see him get knocked out. I'm tired of this. The same was being said of Brock. And, well, you got your wish. You got your wish. Brock got knocked out. Brock got knocked out. And Goldberg just happened to be, oh my God, the names escaped me. Don't kill me here. Riddick Bowe. That's it. Riddick Bowe knocked out Mike Tyson. That's right. So maybe you could say that Goldberg was the Riddick Bowe of WWE, that he knocked out the unknockable. That didn't come out right. Let me just give you my take on this, and I've written a column since then, and I've written a bunch about Goldberg and Brock before the match. I wrote about them since then. I will continue to write about them up until and after the WrestleMania 33 match, which I believe is going to happen. And Brock is probably going to go over at WrestleMania 33. Probably. I say probably because it's pro wrestling, and you never say never, and you never, fully put all your chips on the table behind any one guy, because you're probably going to lose your money that night. But here's my take on it. Goldberg had to win. Okay, and I've been writing for years now, if you've been paying attention. I hope you have. I've been writing for years now about the booking of Brock Lesnar has been impossible, okay? Because, again, when you are booked like Superman on steroids, when you're booked like the Incredible Hulk times 5, guess what's going to happen to you? Eventually, you have to fall, or you have to retire. Okay? The end had to come eventually. Now, this is not the end for Brock, of course. It's not over for him by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know how many years we have, or that he has left, that we're talking about here in the business, specifically for WWE. I don't really know. But I can tell you that I feel like he's got a lot left in the tank in terms of drawing power and star power. Did this hurt Brock Lesnar? No. Goldberg needed this win, but Brock needed this loss. Period. And everybody went nuts. A lot of you people are probably guilty of it too. Oh, why they do all this work just to destroy him? I put out a tweet that night. I think it was that night or the day after. It might have been that night, I think. And I said, what happens after 4 years of indestructible booking? This Survivor Series happens. And that was not a knock on WWE for Brock going under. That's not at all. Not at all. Quite the opposite. And maybe it didn't come out the way I intended, but Survivor Series had to happen, guys. Had to. If you say to me that Goldberg can't beat him, then there's no one left. Don't talk to me about Samoa Joe. I would love to see that match. I would love to see Joe pull off the upset, but let's be honest about this right now. And no disrespect intended, because I always preface any comment that may be misconstrued as disrespectful or whatever as no disrespect, because I mean that too. I do mean that. I try to be professional here. You guys know that, right? No disrespect to Joe, but put Joe and Goldberg side by side, and you tell me who could beat Brock Lesnar and have it be believable and have it make sense and have it be the most logical thing you've ever seen in your life. Now, to say that it was the most logical thing you've ever seen in your life in terms of Goldberg taking down Brock Lesnar in 86 seconds, then that seems a bit silly, right? That seems like something that's impossible, that could never happen. But just as Jim Ross pointed out on his podcast, and several others have after the fact, If you want the guy to go down, if you want him to go down, then you make it quick. Okay? Because by making it quick, he can always come out later and say it was a fluke. He can say he wasn't prepared, he wasn't ready, he got caught off guard, he underestimated his opponent, which is exactly what Paul Heyman has done on Monday Night Raw. He says, we underestimated Goldberg, we weren't ready. And that's our fault. We will be ready next time. And it's perfect. Brock saves face. Goldberg looks like a hero. I'm just going to tell you right now, from a nostalgic point of view, I love the fact that Goldberg went over. I love the fact that he had his kid in the ring. I love the fact that Goldberg takes this superhero stuff seriously. He's not just saying that for a storyline. He's dead serious about it. If you've ever heard an interview with him, apart from WWE outside the business, he always took that aspect of his career and his character very seriously. He always has, and kudos to him for that. There's not enough guys in the business that take it seriously anymore, okay? And if you don't believe me, go check out Twitter right now. Go find your favorite WWE superstar and see what he's doing on Twitter, because chances are he's broke kayfabe up one side, down the other. And it's just ridiculous nonsense. But you're not going to see that with Bill, okay? Because all he's talking about right now is training for the next round, which is going to be Royal Rumble, which, yes, the only two men who have officially declared, to my knowledge, as of this recording anyway, are Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. Makes perfect sense. They're going to face off in the Rumble at some point. It'll probably be just the two of them. There will probably be guys coming at them from all sides. They'll probably eliminate 2 or 3 guys apiece so they can end up in the ring apart or, alone with each other. And then, chaos ensues. Katie bar the door situation, man. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I love the fact that Goldberg went over. Again, for nostalgia's sake, understand this. I'm not 20. So I wasn't like, Goldberg's my idol, I'm 14. No, not at all. I was a grown man when all the WCW stuff happened and the Monday Night Wars. And, I was there and witnessed a lot of it firsthand. And I'm going to tell you right now, Goldberg is more larger than life now than he ever was before. I don't know how that's possible, but it's amazing. I feel great for him. Congratulations to him. I love the fact that it's worked out. And, for anyone out there who says that that certain things are impossible, this can't happen, just stop. We've seen everything now, okay? I don't know what's left. I mean, Brett coming back to WWE, they said would never happen. Brett and Shawn shaking hands, they said would never happen. We'll never see Sting in a WWE ring. That could never happen. And all these things that supposedly could never happen. Sting will never work Undertaker. I'm still holding out hope for that one, by the way. But Goldberg coming back and working Brock, and not only working Brock, but looking like a freaking animal while doing it. Because he did, man. He just, oh my God, it was so good, wasn't it? I mean, it was one of the coolest moments I've ever seen. And again, that Toronto crowd was red hot. Smoking hot, man. Smoking hot. Loved every minute of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, Brock doesn't get enough credit for selling. Brock sold that thing like he had been shot in the gut. He did so well. And then Paul Heyman put over the fact that Brock has cracked ribs, which is such a nice touch, by the way. Accentuates the loss and accentuates the fact that Brock couldn't continue this, that, and the other. Goldberg had a lot of raw power, which he does anyway, so it's very believable. And don't be crying for Joe. I love Joe. Joe's going to get his opportunity at some point. He will. I think Nakamura will get it first, in my opinion. I want to see Nakamura in the WWE World Championship match against AJ Styles at WrestleMania 33. That's what I like to see. Don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be AJ versus Taker, which, I was talking to someone today, and I said, AJ deserves that match. He deserves to face Taker. And a lot of people out there are going to go nuts. They're going to be talking about, oh, well, he shouldn't have dropped the title. He shouldn't drop title to Undertaker. Who cares about that? Let me just tell you something right now. And I've been as guilty as any of you guys or as anyone else out there has ever been about getting too wrapped up in wins and losses, man. I have been very guilty of that myself in the past. This is AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. You don't think this is a big deal? AJ deserves that match. He deserves that match and more. If there's anybody in the business that deserves to face Undertaker at WrestleMania, it's AJ Styles. You think AJ Styles has a problem losing to Undertaker? Are you serious right now? This is not a situation like CM Punk where CM Punk was put right near the top, but not quite there, kept taking shots at him, wouldn't put him over to the fullest degree. AJ's over, man. They've put this guy over. They have. So he's already there. A lost Undertaker wouldn't hurt him a bit, and I think he would love it. I know he would love every minute of it. Who wouldn't? To say that you got in the ring with the legend before he hung up the boots? Come on, man. And you know Taker wants to do it. I'm not saying the match is going to happen, by the way, no one go crazy. I'm just saying I think it's a strong possibility. That's my opinion. But the legend, Goldberg's legend, has grown exponentially. It's bigger than it ever has been, and good for him. I love it. I love the fact that Brock's been brought crashing back down to earth the way he should be. I love the fact that Goldberg's star is bigger than it ever has been. I love the fact that all this has worked out the way it's worked out. And I love the fact that it's going tremendously for all parties involved. Brock looks as good as he ever did. For anyone out there that's losing their minds, please don't lose your minds. Brock's going to be fine. For all of you out there thinking this is going to continue for for Goldberg, I think Goldberg's got a few matches left in him. I'll be honest with you. The perfect way to cap off his career is with a match at WrestleMania 33. Let's just be honest. It'll be 13 years since he worked his last WrestleMania match. 2 WrestleMania wins. And would it be 2 WrestleMania wins? Would it be? Do you think he'd go over on Brock? Never say never, man. No one picked him to beat Brock to begin with at Survivor Series. I did that, fool. I don't know if anyone else that picked him. I mean, I don't read everyone else's work, don't get me wrong, but you know, I just don't see it. I don't know. It's so hard to pick. How about this? How about we talk about WrestleMania when it gets here? Let's just do one thing at a time, shall we? But the legend of Goldberg looms larger than ever. What a legend are we talking about here? How about let's talk about Sting? Sting's not in the news or anything like that that's happening right now, but this is just coming from me to you. Sting has got to face Taker. I would book that thing for WrestleMania 33. I'd give AJ something else to do. I would put Brock against Goldberg, Sting against Undertaker, AJ against whoever. I'll give him a great match. But I think it needs to happen. And maybe I'm just one of those diehard fans that can't let it go. I don't know, but, you know, I want to see the match so bad I can't stand it. Let's just be honest. It's the last big match of Undertaker's career. No disrespect to AJ or anyone else, but this is the last big match of Undertaker's career. The match needs to happen, folks. I'm telling you. I think next year, or 2018, would be too late. I think 2017 needs to be it. Don't know how they can pull it off. They could always pull it out of left field somehow, but I think it really does need to happen before it's too late, before both guys decide, you know what, the ship has sailed. I hope it hasn't sailed. That's just me talking. Let's get into a little bit about what's going on right now with a guy that would love to be considered a legend, and that's Kevin Owens, the current Universal Champion. By the way, the belt doesn't mean a whole lot, and that's nothing that he's necessarily done wrong. But the comedy routine with Chris Jericho, which I've written about in the past, very recently I might add, I don't know if it's done him any favors in terms of his strength as Universal Champion. He got pinned on the last edition of Monday Night Raw. Yours truly was there in Charlotte, North Carolina to witness the whole thing. You know, at the end of the day, Raw is Roman's show, and he's going to win in the match like that. He's going to win in that environment every time, which is exactly what happened, man. So, you know, I don't know. It's a tough one with Kevin. I'm not going to lie to you. It's really tough with Kevin Owens right now because part of me would love to see the guy explode. Part of me would love to see him dominate and be taken seriously and have some amazing quality wins as Universal Champion. The other part of me says Kevin needs to get in shape. And I know I've beaten a dead horse. I don't say it with tongue-in-cheek. I don't say it to be a jerk. I don't say it for vengeance. I don't say it because I think I know it all. I don't say it to take a shot at Kevin personally. If I said this on Twitter, he would take a shot at me right back, and that's fine. But I only say this because it's my true opinion. To this day, I have a really, really hard time understanding why WWE continues to book this guy as this what they call the prize fighter when he can't hit the gym. And I don't for the life of me understand it. I'm not suggesting he needs to be a piece of stone like Brock. I'm not suggesting he's got to be ripped like John. I'm not saying any of that stuff. But for Kevin Owens to still have a gut on him after all this time, it's very surprising to me. I often compare him to Bray Wyatt, another guy who would, I'm sure, would love to be legendary status, and maybe he will be one day if WWE can ever get their head out of a certain orifice. But I'll compare him to Bray Wyatt because Bray was in rough shape at one point. I think we can all agree on that. But Bray hit the gym. Bray got himself in shape. He looks awesome. He looks better than he's ever looked, probably his entire career. And good for him. He's a hoss. I mean, he is, but he's not so thick that you could look at him and say, God, Bray's fat. You could at one time. You can't now. I don't understand why Kevin Owens can't get that physique. Not that he has to mimic Bray or anything like that, but I guess I'll just never understand why it can't be better than what it is, and why Kevin doesn't want better, and why that company doesn't want better. I digress. I don't mean to take shots. I'm not trying to take shots. You guys know that, right? By the way, through the miracle of editing, you could probably tell there's no background noise happening right now, so I finally stopped, thank God. But yeah, man, again, back to legendary status, according to what you believe legendary status is, that's kind of what I want to touch on today. Roman Reigns, in many ways, WWE is pursuing Roman Reigns. They're still continuing with this idea that Roman is a top guy. A lot of people are still fighting it. He does get a reaction. I was at Raw. Like I said, when he beat Kevin, he is popping the crowd for better or worse. And I don't know. Roman's a bit too cocky, a bit too overconfident to be a babyface, and I'll never understand why they don't turn him heel. This is a guy that they want to become a legend, obviously. They want him to become a legend, and more than that, they want him to be the top guy. I still believe that the feeling is there, that the desire is there for him to be in that role, and I still believe that Roman's always going to have issues. He's always going to have problems. And you know what? I hear other people analyzing the situation and saying that fans won't give him a chance. They don't understand why they boo him. Why do fans boo him? Because fans don't want him. And I hear the same explanation being said, well, people only chant, let's go Cena. Cena sucks because it's habit. Because they hear the people doing it. No, they don't. Don't you understand? Some people love John, some people hate him. A lot of this is real simple, and people analyze it and overanalyze it and analyze it to death to the point where it makes no sense in the end. So it's real easy math. You either love a guy or you don't. You either support a guy or you don't. And that's bottom line with John and Roman. Speaking of John's going to come back eventually. He's going to become the 16-time world champion. You guys know that, right? It's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised to see John be a surprise entrant in the Rumble and win the whole friggin' thing. I'm not kidding. I think he could. And I think it'd shock the world and all that other stuff. And then he'll go to WrestleMania, become the 16-time world champion, tie Ric Flair, and destroy everyone's fond memories of seeing Flair. Well, I mean, I exaggerate because it's not going to happen in terms of, John hurting anyone's memory. No one can ever replace Ric Flair. We can all agree on that, right? No one can ever replace what he's done, or who he is to the business, what he's meant to so many fans, including myself. Growing up, I loved Rick. I watched him, and I loved to hate him. But as I got older, I respected him, and I still have massive respect for Ric Flair. I don't know if John's going to have that level of respect. He's got it, don't get me wrong, but traveling the roads, going from town to town, being the fighting champion, I just don't know if I see that being John's legacy. It doesn't have to be, because it's a different time, different era he came up in, but still, I don't, you could compare the guys in terms of number of titles, but I think that's where the comparison kind of stops. Speaking of legacy, nice segue, right? Let's get to the legacy part of the podcast. Let's talk about the legacy that continues to be carved out by the women of WWE, more specifically, Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. Again, folks, I was in Charlotte on November 28th, the night that Sasha Banks became the third, the Raw Women's Champion for the third time. That crowd, including myself, we lost their minds. We lost our minds. We did. It was great. I popped hardcore because, for me to say that I was there when Sasha won the belt, very cool moment for yours truly. But also a very cool moment because she's earned it. She earned it the first time she won it and the second time, but she's really earned it now. I have read some kind of nonsense columns. One that I just read the headline and kind of breezed through it, and I said, well, this is a bunch of rubbish. But the headline was that Charlotte and Sasha are ruining the women's division. What? Let me just tell you guys something. For those of you out there past the age of, 15, I don't know. At one time, women's wrestling was the biggest joke on the planet for WWE. It was terrible. If you want to see women's wrestling, you had to go outside of WWE to actually find good women's wrestling, because that company didn't care about it. You know what the company wanted? That company wanted bra and panties. It wanted gravy boat matches. It wanted mud matches. It wanted, the cat, Jerry Lawler's ex-wife, Stacy Carter, taking off her top on live pay-per-view. It wanted Sable with topless with black hands printed on her breasts. That's what it wanted. That's what it wanted. It wanted Terry Runnels to take her pants down and show everyone her posterior, as it were. And this is what WWE wanted. Think about that for a second. In this day and age of, people have been more conscious than ever of you shouldn't objectify women, you shouldn't degrade them, you shouldn't look at them as sex objects, this, that, and the other. Things that have all been the case forever. But at one point, it was, perfectly acceptable to see that kind of crap on wrestling. I say crap because I told this story before. But during the Monday Night Wars, I would watch with a group of friends, and we would flip between Nitro and Raw. And dude, I can't tell you how many times that we would flip to Raw and be bra and panties, and we flip right back to Nitro. Now, you guys can choose to believe that or not. Totally fine. Up to you. But we're talking about a room full of straight men, and who wouldn't mind seeing a woman naked. Fine with me. Hey. But I didn't care about it because we were wrestling fans first. You see what I'm saying? So it never did anything for me to say, oh my God, let's see Lita. Let's see her thong. All right. What else you got? See what I mean? I wrote a column recently for Camel Clutch blog running down the match between Charlotte and Sasha, or reviewing it, I should say. And I'm pointing out the fact that Trish versus Lita was in terms of legacy for women's wrestling, yes, it was that and a lot more. But at the same time, it was one wardrobe malfunction away from being a joke. Because Lita with her thong and Trish with her nude photo shoots, then she just barely covered herself up and all this other stuff. And that's what WWE wanted. Okay, because WWE always manages to insert that sexual innuendo, the sexual undertones to the women. They tried to portray Beth Phoenix as being the anti-diva, long before Paige did it and all this other stuff. Well, I'm different. Next thing you know, she's in like these glamour shots on WWE.com. And you're like, oh my God, they've airbrushed her. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. No! So at the end of the day, WWE always gets its way. The Bella Twins, case in point, runway models, both of them. I don't care what anyone says. And I always preface my comments with no disrespect. I mean nothing personal by the comments, but that's not women's wrestling to me. Never has been, never will be. And if you don't believe me, go to WWE.com right now. I guarantee the Bellas are on the front page. They're on the front page regardless if they're wrestling or not. Here's a photo of Brie and her puppy from Instagram. Really? Like that's the best you got? I mean, so-and-so and so-and-so had an amazing match last night, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Brie and her dog. Just an example. Just a brief little silly example. But, as much as that company worships the Bella Twins, they probably always will. Those women are going to turn gray and old and die before WWE stops worshiping them, I suppose. And even then, they're going to keep running old photo shoots and, keep Bella alive, as it were. And that's fine. But as much as the company loves to do that crap, let's don't forget that women's wrestling is alive and well, thanks to Charlotte and Sasha. Anyone out there that doesn't agree with that, sod off. I think that's an insult in Britain, isn't it? Yeah. So, I'm serious. I just forget you, man, because you don't know what you're talking about. And I don't often say that someone's analysis is completely, backwards. That's completely backwards. Because again, I remember a time when women's wrestling was a complete joke and was looked at by WWE as being nothing more than T&A. Totally. Okay? You want to go back to that? The same fans who were tired of that are now claiming that Charlotte and Sasha are ruining women's wrestling. Shut up. Shut up and stop talking. Shut up and stop talking and turn the channel because you don't know what you're talking about. Enough's enough. If you weren't there in Charlotte that night, you don't know what you're talking about. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the vibe in that place was magic. It was amazing. It was a room, an arena full of people who have already seen Sasha versus Charlotte a whole bunch, but said, you know what? This is one of the coolest matches I've ever seen. I'm into this. I'm captivated. It was emotional. It was everything that these two women have ever delivered and more. And they put on great matches. You know what they do when they get in the ring? They don't do anything but just deliver 5-star matches. That's all. So if you're into that thing, watch Sasha versus Charlotte. If all you want to do is just bitch and moan, go watch somebody else. Quit wasting my time. Because they made magic. Again, I was there to see it. I was proud to see it. I'm happy to say I did see it. Kudos to both of them. It's an amazing thing for WWE. Thank God it's finally come back around. What happens from here? Well, let's hope that Sasha doesn't drop the belt in 2 weeks. Becky Lynch deserves a match of this caliber, and I'm sure she'll have one. And you got to give these women a chance. Just because Sasha and Charlotte have been the two standouts does not mean no one else can work. It just means that they got to go with what's white hot right now. Easy for me to say. They got to go with what's white hot, and those two are white hot, and that's the important thing. You got to go with the thing that's working, the thing that's hot, the thing that's drawing money and drawing fans and drawing ratings, by the way, which they did. Thank you very much. Okay, you got to do that. And when you do that, you're going to turn heads and you're going to put eyes on the product. And you're going to make fans happy. You make the casual fan happy. Maybe hasn't watched Raw in a while and tunes in and sees these two women killing each other for a strap of gold. Which, by the way, Women's Championship, I'm calling it right now. Most valuable title in WWE by far. And I don't care what anyone else says, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. Shut up. All due respect to AJ and Kevin, and as well as Rusev and Miz. Sorry for you, but the women's title in Raw is the best title in the company and the most over by far. That's it, period. And the story, man, it doesn't mean it won't change, but as of today, right now, this recording, you better believe it is. And that's thanks in large part to the booking, but it's also thanks in large part to the work that these two women have done together. And it's just amazing stuff, and I love it. So that's what legacy we're talking about today, man. They've added to their legacies. It's been amazing stuff. I love it. I'm a fan of it. I used to be one of those guys that was very upset that women's wrestling was never, it was just non-existent. It was a joke, and I was sick of it, and I hated every second of it, and I couldn't stand it. And I was one of those guys that complained about it a lot. And I'm just happy that this time has come. I couldn't be happier as a wrestling fan and as a wrestling analyst and writer, because this stuff is just so interesting and captivating for me. It's intriguing. And I love writing about it, and I love watching it, and it's just such good stuff. And you know, talk about building their legacies. 10 years from now, they're going to be talking about Sasha and Charlotte the way they used to talk about Trish and Lita, the way they still talk about Trish and Lita. It's going to be an entirely different monster, because this has got nothing to do with let's see how fast we can get the women's clothes off. This is let's watch a cool match. Not let's watch a cool women's match. Let's watch a great match between two great competitors. That's what I want it to be. It's that way now. I feel like it's going to be even more that way later, and I'm just proud to see it, and I'm proud to say it. I think it's awesome. So listen, I apologize for the length of the podcast. I usually try to go an hour here, but you know, I was on the road going somewhere, and I'm there, and I got to get moving. But I wanted to get some thoughts out. This is not all I had to say, of course, but this is going to be all for this episode. Hopefully, you got something out of this, and hopefully, if you got some points of view, if you got some opinions, I'd love to hear them. Drop me a line, Tom Clark BR on Twitter. You can also drop me an email, tomclarkbr@yahoo.com. You can find our production studio, Boing Studios, on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter @Boing Studios. You can check me out on Bleacher Report. Been there 6 years, still going strong, still loving every second of it. Thank you very much. My work is still on Sportskeeda. I've got quite a backlog there. If you'd like to check out my stuff, please feel free to. And of course, I'm still there. I'm still published 2 recent pieces for Camel Clutch blog. So go check that out as well. Listen, man, thanks for listening to this abbreviated podcast. We appreciate your business, and we're going to be back real soon. We hope you'll come back with us. Thanks for your patronage. We always, as always, appreciate your business. Question, comments, words of wisdom, hit us up. Let us know. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for doing everything you do to keep us rolling. And we do hope that you appreciate what we're doing, and that you like the content. Give us a line. Like I said, drop us a line, man. Let us know. That's it for me, folks. Gonna stop rambling. I'm out of here. We will see you next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.